Revolution Now convener Omoyele Sowore speaks for the first time since his arrest by DSS, says he's being treated well. President Muhammadu Buhari thanks Nigerians for ignoring revolution protest calls. On the international scene, China fumes as US labels the country currency manipulator. And in sports, the Tigers' new jerseys unveiled in Lagos.
This is ANN News.
I am Lucy Adeyemi, former presidential candidate of the African Action Congress and convener of the Revolution Now movement, has spoken for the first time since being seized by the Department of State Services on Saturday for organizing Revolution Now protests. Sowore thanked Nigerians and the international community for supporting him in this ordeal. The Take It Back movement had visited the DSS facility in Lagos where Sowore is being held. He assured the movement that he was being treated well and in good health. He expressed satisfaction that the protests were held. He said he was bothered by what he said were the large numbers of those he called innocent Nigerians being arrested for exercising their civil rights. He called for immediate and unconditional release of those. Sowore was arrested on Saturday after calling for nationwide protests for Monday against what he called bad governance. The police later said Sowore's planned protest amount to treasonable felony and act of terrorism. A notable Nigerian leader, Are Onokankafo of Yoruba land, Iba Gani Adams, has called for the immediate release of Omoyele Sowore, who called the detention an abuse of human rights and disagreed that the planned revolutionary protest was treasonable because it had not yet taken place at the time of Sowore's arrest. Sowore is publisher of Sahara Reporters and convener of Global Coalition for Security and Democracy in Nigeria. Adams said Nigeria's problems emanated from the military dictatorship that was against freedom of speech and expression. He said not every Nigerian has access to the president in Aso Rock. He said this is democracy, not militarism, where people are cowed and jailed over issues relating to their welfare. He said Sowore is entitled to express his feelings and those of Nigerians in a democratic setting. Adams said Sowore is an activist and he was part of the struggle for this democracy. Adams calls for Sowore's immediate release. He also advised the federal government to formulate policy programs that would directly impact every Nigerian. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is thanking Nigerians for, in his words, deliberately ignoring calls on social media to join what he called a phantom revolution. In a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, in Abuja on Monday, the president said he was humbled by the support, not for himself or the governing party, but for the democracy value of modern-day Nigeria. The president said the movement attempt has failed to draw people into revolution against what he called their own democratic rights and interests. President Buhari said future attempts to hold such rallies would also fail because they would be trying to take away from the people their hard-won right and freedom to choose who leads their country. Presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Dr. Obadiah Mailafia, has called on the Department of State Services, DSS, to immediately release Omoyele Sowore. Dr. Mailafia spoke in Abuja on Monday at a conference on ethnic nationalities organized by the Middle Belt Forum. He said the federal government is losing legitimacy because of Sowore's continued detention. Mailafia, who is former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, said it is unbelievable that a citizen of a country can be arrested just for expressing his views on issues he feels are affecting the country negatively. Mailafia says the state of the nation is deteriorating. The economy is dwindling, insecurity and palpable fears envelop the land. He says this sum total of these is that Nigeria is a failed nation. He says the government must take urgent steps to work toward re-engineering the federation to take it out of its rating as headquarters of poverty in the world. Now to other stories. The immediate past governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari Abubakar, says agents of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, found nothing incriminating in his house when they raided it on Sunday. The governor said in a statement on Monday that the reason for the visit to the house by operatives of the anti-graft agency was yet unknown, but he had ordered that all rooms and offices in the house be opened to the operatives to conduct their search. The former governor said he gave the order to give EFCC unfettered access to it so it can carry out its responsibility. Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Yari, says the non-functional state of the country's refineries is a shame to the country. He also said it was sad that Nigeria is a net importer of petroleum products. Yari was speaking in Lagos on Monday at the opening ceremony of this year's annual international conference and exhibition of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. He said no excuse can erase the shame that none of the country's refineries are working and that this has caused the country to become a net importer of petroleum products. But he promised to change that situation. Yari listed some factors for achieving that, including fixing all refineries. He also floated the country's unwillingness to invest in its oil and gas industry and Nigeria's inability to pursue gas-to-industry, gas-to-power initiatives. The NNPC boss also expressed sadness that Nigeria had no power plant to run with almost 200 trillion cubic feet of gas. He said the corporation will take steps to put the gas resources into the domestic market. Coming up, African news. Uganda begins its largest ever trial of preventive Ebola medicine. And later, international news. China slams US for labeling aid currency manipulator.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Uganda has been on Ebola high alert since 2 persons died of the disease. They were part of a family visiting from the Congo. The East African country says it now has begun its largest ever trial of a preventive Ebola vaccine amid fears of a potential spillover of the deadly hemorrhagic fever from neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo. A 3rd person has died of the virus in Uganda after returning home from DRC. Ebola has killed more than 1,800 persons in the DRC in the latest outbreak that began a year ago and has become the 2nd worst on record. Rwanda, neighboring Congo, and Uganda are on high alert after the disease spread to Goma, a Congolese bustling trading hub near the Ugandan border. The vaccination project's lead researcher in Uganda, Pontiano Kalebo, says the 2-year trial will involve 800 persons in Mbarara district, southwest of the country. They were rescued from sinking boats and unwelcoming countries and were granted safe passage to Cameroon. But more than 100 of those rescued migrants are stuck in southern Cameroon. They include migrants from Benin Republic, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and Togo, who are now calling for help from their respective governments. They say they have no money or food. Many of them are in the Cameroonian village of Eboje, where the local authorities have cared for them for almost a week now. The migrants ran into trouble when their vessel ran out of fuel at sea in Cameroon territorial waters and was rescued after several hours by fishermen and the Rapid Intervention Battalion of Cameroon's military. No deaths were recorded. Yei, a war-torn city in southwestern South Sudan, needs peace-building effort from all parties in an urgent bid to end violence and reconstruct homeland, as increasing number of refugees gradually return home longing for a stable life. A peacekeeping patrol led by the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, force commander headed out to the United Nations compound early morning on Monday on the way to Yei. But the 155-kilometer journey on the muddy road remains treacherous in the raining season, and they were more concerned about a recent surge been ambushed and the killing of civilian commuters by armed groups. The local governor describes the attacks as barbaric and is calling for an end to violence.
You cannot target a civilian who is very vulnerable, somebody who goes about his or her life just to earn a living, to a market, and you target these civilians. And I think this is the most lowest an organization can do, which is, to us, this is an act of cowardice, because if it's a movement that has an objective, we will not target the civilian.
The local commissioner estimates that 7,000 refugees have recently returned from neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. Many have come home to find their farms and houses looted or destroyed and are being forced to live with relatives or to rely on humanitarian aid for survival.
All the time receiving people back, and also we urge government partners, international organizations and local organizations to come and assess the situation, and then they come with support, because this is a very critical time, and we need the people to feel the peace.
While there has been a significant reduction in political violence across South Sudan since the signing of a peace deal last September, sporadic clashes have continued in the area around Yei, causing immense suffering for the local population. A series of rapprochements have taken place across the region to encourage reconciliation and peace building, including many supported by UN MISS. Cairo has now introduced the first robotic car park aimed at easing traffic congestion in the city. This is the first of a few smart parking solutions promised by the Governorate of Cairo. Authorities say the multi-story mass parking lot can hold a great number of cars to resolve Cairo's chaotic and congested traffic. Abdul Momorke reports.
Cairo is among the top populous cities in the world. The Egyptian capital has one of the world's worst traffic jams. Car parking spaces here are extremely limited. Double parking and violations to no parking signs are quite common. That causes additional suffocations in Cairo's traffic and makes a car journey in this huge city a painful experience to many people.
Parking has become such a hectic mission. I can't accomplish any errand anymore because of that. I have been waiting now in my car. I can't leave my car because I can't find a spot. That's always the case, and when there's one, it's usually far away from where I want to go. If I leave my car in the flash of a second, someone can double park and block my car's way out.
To resolve all of these issues, Cairo has thought to take all these cars away from the streets. The only way to save space was to stack them on top of each other vertically. That has led to the first electronic car parking system in the region, the Roxy Garage.
In the heart of the Heliopolis downtown area, the garage stands equipped with the most recent robotic technologies. It takes only 1 minute to get the car into the 16 meters deep, 4 stories underground garage. After completing its second phase in 2020, this 40,000 meter square garage will be able to accommodate more than 1,700 vehicles.
The garage has the capacity to absorb all car parkings in the downtown area and its extension. In coordination with the General Authority for Traffic, we are working to free all parking spaces in the streets.
To guarantee a maximum of 3 minutes recall time for any vehicle, the garage is equipped with 16 hydraulic robotic elevators. But all of that has increased its construction cost, making it reach about $28 million. People have to pay up to 90 cents an hour in peak times, which is more than what most regular parking spaces would cost for a whole day. It's why daily occupancy rates is as little as 11%, but the government sees potential in this project.
The Roxy electronic garage is the first of its kind in Egypt. The government has assigned the management here to implement more smart garages in Egypt and abroad.
Such projects will definitely help the country to create more walking and driving spaces in the streets. For people, it remains an expensive technology, and it's quite hectic if people need to pick up an item from their cars after the machines check them in.
When we return, international news. China disagrees with U.S. on being labeled currency manipulator. And later, D-Tigris new jerseys unveiled in Lagos.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit. Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit. Welcome back. This is ANN News in world events. The rift between the United States and China seems to widen on Monday as Washington calls Beijing a currency manipulator. China's central bank says that would severely damage international financial order and cause chaos in financial markets. China's central bank said on Tuesday that Washington's decision to label Beijing as a currency manipulator would severely damage international financial order and cause chaos in financial markets. People's Bank of China said in a statement on its website that China has not and will not use the exchange rate as a tool to deal with trade disputes. In the country's first official response, China says Washington's decision to ratchet up currency tensions would also prevent a global economic and trade recovery. Dispute between the two giants has already spread beyond tariffs to other areas such as technology, and analysts caution tit-for-tat measures could widen in scope and severity, weighing further on business confidence and global economic growth. Global Times, an influential Chinese tabloid published by the ruling Communist Party's People's Daily, writes that the U.S. decision was driven purely by political motive. Xu Jinjing, the newspaper's editor-in-chief, tweeted on Tuesday that China no longer expects goodwill from the U.S. Death toll from the two separate U.S. mass shootings in Texas and Ohio over the weekend has risen to 31 as Americans continue to mourn the victims. 22 persons were killed in the El Paso shooting on Saturday. Police say they found an anti-immigration document espousing white nationalist and racist views. They believe the document was written by 21-year-old suspect Patrick Crucius of Allen, Texas. In addition to capital murder charges, he may also face hate crime charges. Meanwhile, another 9 persons were killed in a shooting in Dayton, Ohio on same day. The suspect was said to have fired 41 shots in under 30 seconds, ripping apart 9 families in almost an instant. Police officers shot dead the suspected shooter, Connor Betts, amid a scene of widespread carnage. It appears U.S. President Donald Trump may be getting the recognition he had always craved in Britain. Headline Brexiteers are now repeating Trump's advice and are urging Britain's new Conservative Prime Minister Boris Johnson to forge an electoral accord with Eurosceptic Nigel Farage, who is also a friend of the American president. The feeling is that if Johnson does not do that, Brexit may be lost, with pro-European Union opposition parties likely to emerge stronger from a snap election many lawmakers believe Johnson would have to trigger in October, and one appears to be actively planning to hold. Johnson has rejected calls for sealing an electoral pact between his Conservative Party, which currently has a working majority of just 1 in the British Parliament, and Farage's Brexit Party, saying he doesn't believe in doing such election deals. Still in Britain, electric taxi cabs are taking a larger share of the cab market in London. The manufacturer is London Electric Vehicle Company, a subsidiary of Chinese car manufacturer Geely. The company claims it has grabbed a 10% share of the market in the city since launching the cars 18 months ago. Richard Bestick reports from London.
Pollution across London, although often invisible to the naked eye, is expensive, damage running into the billions of dollars, according to political leaders in the capital. Over 2 million people subjected to illegal levels of toxic air. The health impact in crisis, according to City Hall.
So no more polluting taxis, no more polluting vehicles. It really reduced the pollution in London and reduced the health impacts that Londoners are facing.
With 13 million passengers on board so far and 21 million miles on the clock, London's new electric cab is already playing its part in cutting pollution levels, according to the manufacturer's LEVC, a subsidiary of the Chinese car-making giant Geely.
No date yet for when the company will go into profit with its electric cab, so the business model is still clearly bedding in.
LEVC has plans to replicate the electric cab's London success across Europe and as far away as Hong Kong. However, the company is highly dependent on the just-in-time delivery of component parts in the manufacturing process. The boss at the company keeping a wary eye on the rising threat of a no-deal Brexit, creating parts shortages.
The things that really would hurt us a lot, but not only us, the whole country, is a no-deal Brexit. Without a deal, really, we will get in trouble. We can predict already that after a certain time we would have to close our factory because we will run out of parts after a while for sure.
Export potential could also suffer from a possible crash in the value of the pound and new EU tariffs should there be a no-deal Brexit. Britain's Society of Motor Manufacturers says investment in the wider industry has fallen by more than 70% in the last 6 months over fears of a no-deal Brexit. For now, though, London cabbies say the new electric taxi has brought a positive shine to their pay packets, saving them an average of $125 a week in fuel compared to the old diesel cabs.
Still to come, sports. The Tigress new jerseys unveiled in Lagos. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in sports. The Revolution Now protests yesterday in Lagos disrupted activities at the National Stadium and created panic at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, where the International Table Tennis Federation ITTF Africa Cup is taking place. Some athletes said they had to call off training plans. Students of the National Institute for Sport could not gain access into the stadium either. Athletes said the sound of gunshots, which apparently were fired in the air to disperse protesters, scared them and got others confused. This new set of jerseys for Nigeria's women basketball national team, the Tigress, was unveiled in Lagos over the weekend as they get ready to defend their Afro-Basket title in Dakar, Senegal, by this weekend. Hugo Dales, chief executive of AFA Sports, knitters of the jerseys and sponsors of the team, said the new jersey design was made with the weather in Senegal in mind. It said the light texture of the material would cause players to excel in intense heat. Senegal are the hosts of this year's competition. We wish them all the success, and that's ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, ANNAfrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I'm Lucy Ademi. Enjoy your evening.